Um, so before we start with results of the project, I would like first give many thanks to OSCE Academy for having me as a associate research fellow. Also send many thanks to editorial team who helped me with this report production, especially Chris Schwartz. And also, it is great that you, I actually mentioned the Korean background of mine, research background of mine, because actually idea for this research came to me once I was doing small research on Korea's policies in Uzbekistan and how much it invests into promotion of higher education. And it was one research, and then after I did it, I thought, okay, I should explore this topic in more detail. Okay, let's go to our stuff. Basically, the title of the research is Patterns and State Strategies of Transnational Higher Education Institutions in Central Asia. It sounds a little bit complicated, but I'll try to deconstruct it and ease for your understanding. In terms of content, we will talk about what does this complicated abbreviation TNHEI mean, Transnational Higher Education Institution, why we should study them in Central Asia. I'll give some historical and contextual background, briefly mention methods and data that I used during this research, and share with you findings and some recommendations that I made based on those findings. So let's go first. Probably this will be the most boring slide out of this presentation, but I don't want you to miss out the concept. I'll try to explain it in my words and easier way. By transnational higher education institutions, I meant different types of entities, official organizations that provide higher education services. But those organizations, they are not domestic, or at least they are partially domestic, because they either have ownership or management that is done by foreign citizens or organizations. And also pedagogical approach in this institution is also not only domestic, of domestic nature. It is partially embedded into other countries, let's say academic cultures or teaching cultures, educational philosophies. And these descriptions touch upon this transnational component of the whole abbreviation. And as for higher education institution, it is easy. We touch upon in undergraduate and graduate education services that award tertiary education degrees. So these can be institutions, universities that are entitled to give out diplomas of specialist, Kandidat Nauk, Doctor Nauk, if it is a Soviet era approach, and if we take it as a Western style approach, it will be bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. I hope the definition is clear because I will operate with it a lot. And we have chat. Okay, sorry. However, before we go into details of the research, I also would like to highlight that I found many TNHEI institutions there in Central Asia, but not all of them fit there. There are also some vocational colleges or college that partly overlap in terms of higher education, but I didn't touch upon them. And also there were institutions that declared that they are international. They have some international ties, some international management or teachers, etc., etc. But I dig in depth of them to find out whether it is true and whether it is not only just a declarative notion, and found out that there are some universities, for example, International Silk Road University of Tourism in Samarkand in Uzbekistan, which sounds quite international, but it is not a transnational higher education institution. It is just a name. And also in Ashgabat in Turkmenistan, we have International Turkmen University of Humanities and Development, which is also just have a title of being international. And also I excluded some universities like International University of Kyrgyzstan, because even though they declared they're international, they're pedagogically they use just domestic approach in its nature. So nothing international about them actually, in terms of management and pedagogy. Okay, I think we're done with transnational higher education institution definition. Let's go into details. First, I will give you just brief historical and contextual background why we have those kinds, this kind of institutions in Central Asia. As you can imagine, after the collapse of Soviet Union, the Central Asian states, they faced different problems. One of the problem was restructure of a higher education system, and the new higher education systems of independent states, it should have addressed different new goals, including business-oriented, market-oriented goals. But at that time, it was not enough personnel, if was any, to address those goals, because those countries, those 5 countries, were incorporated into world economy from after the collapse of the Soviet Union, right? But there was not enough personnel to facilitate development of countries within this capitalistic system. Also, even though higher education is seen as a soft and nice tool and industry, it still works as an instrument of reproduction of national identity. So after the collapse of the Soviet Union, countries should have restructure, redesign those higher education systems to cultivate national identity among citizens. Meanwhile, with this dissolution process of Soviet Union, the internationalization of higher education in the world started, and those 5 countries tried to actually approach this process and try to join it with different degree of success. One of the most representative achievements in terms of internationalization of higher education would be probably the joining of Bologna process. Some of countries succeeded, some of countries are still in process. Also, with this internationalization of higher education, there appeared new forms of possible higher education sources, like those foreign-based universities, that can send their branch campuses to Central Asia. And it led to the situation that some of Central Asian countries, as you'll see further, really enjoyed this approach and planted some of international higher education institutions that are managed by or partially managed or totally managed by international organizations or citizens. And what is also interesting that with dissolution of Soviet Union, countries found themselves that they're also can operate with religion as a tool for international relations, and also religion should be monitored and controlled, because as we can learn from experience of Tajikistan, there can be clashes between secular and religious groups, and countries in Central Asia tried to use not only European, US, and international education that is secular to contribute to its development, but also they tried to introduce some religion-related education too. And some of institutions that were invited, they are religious, or were religious, as we will see further. As of today, we have some data in terms of how many higher education institutions are present in those 5 countries. The most populous with those institutions are, as you can see, let me switch on this thing. Kazakhstan with 129 and Uzbekistan with 105. Less populous are Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. Those I should warn you that those are not exact numbers because sometimes data is hard to collect, and some data is from 2018, 2019. Sometimes the data was for current year. Those numbers are approximate, but I should say that they're quite close to real numbers. Also, another note that here are counted also the branch campuses of, let's say, national universities that in Tajikistan that have branch campuses in other regions of Tajikistan. They are counted as separate ones, as self-standing institutions. So total, we have approximately 355 higher education institutions across Central Asia in 5 countries. What we should touch upon is that these transnational higher education institutions, they were seen as a tool for internationalization of higher education, and they were all often assumed that they can bring some skilled personnel, they can bring some technology knowledge, they can facilitate multilateral ties between countries and groups of countries, they can facilitate investments because they contribute to the good image of the country that hosts this transnational higher education institution, and it can contribute to national image improvement. It also can contribute to development of country leader positive image among own population and internationally, because by implanting these universities, foreign universities, the leader can say, can see to the world, can convey a message that, oh, look, I'm open to cooperation, we're a safe country. Please bring your investments, and we're ready to discuss and negotiate different aspects. And also implanting of these transnational higher education institutions, it brings some international recognition among four Central Asian republics. Imagine these are new countries, nobody knows about them in the early stages. They should promote themselves across the world, and by bringing some international schools, they can do it. However, I would say that those assumptions, those benefits from having transnational higher education institutions, they are partly just assumptions, and there should be done more work on how exactly those universities, institutions work. Yeah. So it was the background of the research. Let's go into some methods and data. I'll be brief in this part. I have done just like desk research, so it was not empirical. I didn't do any interviews. I just analyzed legal documents by universities, institutions, by governments. I analyzed previous studies on these issues, and I analyzed content of websites of these universities to understand like their structure and their nature. And also I did some analysis of media. So let's go into findings. So far, among those 355 higher education institutions, 67 are those foreign-based or foreign-managed universities. 16, as you can see, are in Kyrgyzstan, in Kazakhstan, sorry, 19 in Kyrgyzstan, 4 in Tajikistan, 0 in Turkmenistan, and 28 in Uzbekistan. What is curious about it? Let's go first. That proportionally, it is observable that in Kyrgyzstan they make up almost the third part of all higher education institutions. For Kazakhstan, this proportion is less, and for Uzbekistan, they are making up almost fifth part of higher education institutions. In Turkmenistan, as you can see, nothing is there right now. In Turkmenistan, there were some foreign-based and foreign-managed institutions, but one that was managed by Turkey, that was called International Turkmen-Turkish University, was closed in 2016 due to some political tension between Turkmenistan and Turkey. First of all, it was believed that this International Turkmen-Turkish University was led by some opposition leaders of Turkey. So on these basis, based on these political reasons, I think this institution was closed. Another one that functioned also for some time, the Russian oil and gas university named after Gubkin, famous energy university around the world. It was closed in 2009, and in 2012, in the same building, now Turkmenistan have the Turkmen State Institute of Architecture and Construction. I believe this institution was also closed due to some political tensions. However, it was reported that Turkmenistan side didn't fulfill some financial and some technical requirements for hosting it. and after that it was abolished. If we go into depth of what we have in Central Asia in terms of transnational higher education institutions, it is interesting to see country affiliations of those institutions. No surprise, we have Russia, the dominator, the leader in this sense. And we have, I accounted for 33 different TNHEIs in Central Asia that are affiliated with Russia. However, there is present some diversity in terms of these types of universities. We have Egypt, Belarus, Latvia, Singapore, Kuwait, Italy, India, Germany, UK, South Korea, USA, and Turkey represented besides Russia. Here you have some basic observations from these statistics. You can see that Turkey plans its transnational higher education institutions in Turkic-speaking countries. Turkey has 3 currently in Kazakhstan and 3 in Kyrgyzstan. And as you remember, 1 was in Turkmenistan. So it doesn't try to enter Tajikistan and Uzbekistan yet. Also, there is a curious case of this foreign affiliated institution that is not affiliated with particular country. There is a University of Central Asia that is kind of inter-regional project that has 2 campuses. One is in Tajikistan, one in Kyrgyzstan, and it is expected they are expected to have one in Kazakhstan soon. And this institution is affiliated with Ismaili Imamate and Aga Khan Foundation. So it is kind of a religious leader that lives abroad, and his organization. Also, we have another non-country affiliated institution, OSCE Academy, that is affiliated with OSCE, but not with a particular country. And it is based, as you already know, in Kyrgyzstan. Also, what is interesting in terms of these stats, that we have South Korea, very active player in the field of higher education in Central Asia, but it plans its institutions only in Uzbekistan due to a very close relationship. And it doesn't even try to enter other countries. They have cultural centers, but not higher education institutions. If we also highlight what Uzbekistan is doing with its approach to transnational higher education, it tries to bring diversity. So we have different countries affiliated institutions in Uzbekistan. They are from Russia, USA, South Korea, UK, India, Italy, Singapore, Latvia, and Belarus. So this is the most diverse collection in terms of country affiliations. And also, what should be noted that originally it could be implied that Central Asian countries would like to attract only Western type education institutions from the West, mainly from the UK and USA, but no. Here in Central Asia, we have a competition between different education systems, different countries. We have Russian academic system, we have Turkey with its approach, we have USA and UK, European countries, India, Kuwait, so many of them. This is very curious aspect of how transnational higher education is developing in Central Asia. Also, what should be mentioned that not all universities that are internationally represented, internationally managed, are very of good quality. There is a risk of some diploma meals, and one of the cases is this Moscow Institute of Entrepreneurship and Law. It is called MIPP in Russian, MIPP. And the problem with this institution is that whether it fits well the definition, it seems it doesn't provide the quality education, because in international rankings it is so low. In Russia it is 578, in continental rating in Europe it is 3,995, and in world ranking it is 17,000 something. It is crazy. And it is curious also about this institution that it does not really provide education in Russia to that big extent as it does in Kyrgyzstan and Transnistria. It is a Moscow-based university institution that has campuses in Transnistria and Kyrgyzstan, where probably they got all the money from. Also, as I mentioned before, countries try to attract some religious, some institutions that represented different types of education systems. One of them were Arab or Gulf-related countries cases. And here we got the curious case when Kazakhstan allowed establishment of three Gulf-related universities, institutions that were supposed to teach Arabic language, but more close monitoring revealed that besides Arabic language classes, students are also taught theological studies and some radical Islam. So those institutions were shut down. So not all TNHEIs are absolute good for a country, as you may see from this case. Here I tried to demonstrate basically how we can set different countries in the scale of how they deal with their policies towards transnational higher education institutions. Basically, there are two approaches. One is very restrictive. The second one is more pro-welcoming approach. On the very restrictive wing, we have Turkmenistan that doesn't have foreign universities anymore. We have Tajikistan that prefers Russia to other partners, so it is not open for other countries, excepting for this special case of University of Central Asia that is not country affiliated. And on the right wing, we have Uzbekistan that has 28 universities, but applies quite strict control before letting them in. So they do not want everybody to come. We have Kazakhstan that at certain point of development of these policies allowed too many transnational higher education institutions to be planted, and found out that as with Arabic universities cases, some of them, the qualities of studies are questionable. So now Kazakhstan is trying to free itself from those unwanted universities. And Kyrgyzstan, they have quite loose policies. Everybody is welcome, and it leads to the cases when, as represented with MIPP, creation and emerging diploma meals. So the quality of education may fall. And however, those strategies, they have basically some reasons to be applied. So pro-isolationist reasons to apply these particular type of strategies are the following. First, it will prevent the spread of religion and religious radicalization of youth. That's why probably Tajikistan is applying this isolationist approach. It prevents disruption of national values or state ideologies. Those countries who do not want it, they try to apply only to allow only maybe universities that can adjust their curricula and not spread too many liberal arts studies. Also, isolationist approach prevents brain drain because TNHEIs they facilitate the immigration of alumni to foreign countries because they are educated, they want to develop, and do not find enough opportunities to develop in their home country. And also TNHEI, those universities, foreign-based universities and institutions, they might strengthen ties with certain partner states and protect those partners from unwanted competition. So again, this is what happens in Tajikistan right now. The Tajikistan's foreign affiliated higher education is mainly related to Russia, and Russian universities, they do not compete with other higher education systems. And as for proactive welcoming reasons, is the internationalization of domestic higher education system, production of qualified personnel for international and national projects, competition between universities. So by implanting transnational higher education institutions, they incentivizing increased educational quality. Competition produces quality. Also, it allows acquisition and learning from previously unavailable technologies. And it also allows increasing of national self-awareness coupled with positive public relations abroad strategies. And finally, as I mentioned before, it allows in attracting some direct foreign investments and new ties. What we should maybe highlight from this report that there are some factors that might play a good role and bad role for Central Asian countries. So first, too much isolationism causes lack of human capital and economic development. So this is probably what we will see in Turkmenistan in the upcoming years. Shutting down of these kind of university due to political reasons creates negative image among potential investors. So if you shut down for political reasons, other countries would not like to cooperate with you and invest in you because you might nationalize their property. To lose quality control, like in Kyrgyzstan, is linked to diploma mills, mushrooming, and deterioration of higher education system. So absolute lose control in terms of transnational higher education is not good. Invitation of transnational higher education institutions cannot fix the national system of higher education. It can be a showcase, it can be a good practice, it can be a source of knowledge, but not a substitution for higher education system. And lack of assurance may impact cultural security of a country and religious indoctrination, as we could see in some cases. Those institutions can have an impact on brain drain, but with brain drain, it is interesting that, let's say, modern scholarship moves to a terminology of brain circulation, because at some point people will leave country, but eventually they might come back and bring new technologies, knowledge, and money. So it's not that one-sided. We need more studies. And here we have some recommendations for countries. For Kazakhstan, I strongly support their quality assurance policies and suggest push them more. Also, I welcome their intention to open world-class universities soon, because you should attract transnational higher education institutions, but they should be of good quality. And I think in 2026 they promised, by 2026 they promised to open at least 5 of those. For Kyrgyzstan, I strongly suggest to stricken quality monitoring, including for potential religious radicalization. And they should also fight diploma mills. They are not good for anybody. In terms of Tajikistan, I suggest opening foreign affiliated universities from other countries, because it will bring competition and facilitate development of higher education system. Also, what is interesting with Tajikistan, they promised with Uzbekistan in 2022, I believe, to open a mutual university. So Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, it is an interesting experiment. Let's see how it goes, but I support it. In terms of Turkmenistan, obviously we need to lift isolationist approach. We need to foreign affiliated university let in, and we need to avoid nationalization of facilities and technologies owned by transnational higher education institutions. For Uzbekistan, there should be done some reformation of higher education system to reduce corruption and brain drain. Also, there should be improved conditions for university graduates and alumni and international personnel to retain them in the country. And also, I strongly support government's initiative to diversify its education in terms of transnational higher education institutions too. And small recommendation for countries that export their education institutions into Central Asia, for example, Russia, they should impose some quality monitoring measures on those universities, those institutions that operate in Central Asia on behalf of countries' name, because it might negatively impact the country image. Imagine you have a country, you have a diploma mill that is associated with Russia. It doesn't affect, it affects national image of higher education system of Russia not well. Yeah, and yeah, there are some also studies that we continue to do with my colleague. Maybe I'll touch upon it during Q&A session. At this point, yeah, I thank you all for your attention. And if you have any questions, comments, complaints, you are welcome to address them to me.